Welcome to Roosevelt Live, Season 2, Show 5. Our topics of the day is in the national news. I'm sure everybody probably heard or will hear today about Bishop Eddie Long out of Georgia. He's been accused of some sexual improprieties. I don't know if they're true or not, but at this point I'm not going to mention the names of the people that's bringing these charges against Mr. Long, because I don't know if the charges are true or not. I don't want to start throwing names out there, even though they have filed papers in that state, so their names are a public record anyway. But I'm going to hold back on mentioning the people at this point because I don't want to give anybody any publicity unnecessarily. So first you had two guys above the age of 16 at the time of the alleged sexual activities with these individuals that they claim happened in the presence or with Mr. Eddie Long. So now they're accusing him of giving them gifts and other things and taking them on expensive trips, introducing them to celebrities, all in and even accusing him of using scriptures to support, they say, his sexual relationship with them. Of course, Mr. Long and his people denies that, says it's 100% not true. Mr. Long has some 25,000 alleged members of his institution, of his church over there in the Georgia area. And I don't know if it's true or not, but we do know that in defense of Mr. Long, not representing him anything, I don't know who the guy actually was until just recently. So go figure. I didn't even know he existed until a couple of days ago. But the information that I do have on Mr. Long is that he on the surface, he seems to be a very prominent person and with a major reputation in the United States, and definitely in the Southeast area. He did the eulogy for Corella Scott King, and I noticed at that eulogy that there were 4 presidents there: President Clinton, President Jimmy Carter, President Bush, and then the father, President Bush. It was all at the eulogy at this venue. And I don't know what actually has gone on so far. I'm not sure, but it's a lot of allegations going, and you hate for it if it's not true for somebody's name to get drugged through the mud, because just because somebody files a lawsuit doesn't mean things actually happen, because there's a lot of money involved here. Allegedly, one of the people, I'm going to use the word allegedly because I don't have any first-hand information, one of the people that's filing the lawsuit against him, not only against him, but against there's a school that they have as well at that place where they mentor young people and stuff, and also against the church itself. The lawsuits, from my understanding, is being filed. So it's like one of those vicarious lawsuits where you just sue everybody that has an attachment to Bishop Long. But allegedly, one of these people that accused him, been accused of breaking in his office at his church there, stealing jewelry and other things. Now, one thing really don't have a whole bunch to do with the other, because even if the person that broke into the place is the person that filed the lawsuit, doesn't mean that the sexual relationship didn't happen just because he happened to be maybe a thief. So we can't say, well, it didn't happen because he allegedly broke into his office. I don't think they actually can be connected. I can understand how people can draw a conclusion and say, well, if he's a thief, somehow he may be lying. Well, I can understand why people say it, but I disagree with it, because just because somebody's a thief doesn't mean they're not telling the truth. I mean, it may look bad. It may look bad for them being a believable person, but maybe it did happen. I don't know. But what I do know, because the bishop here has spoken out against same-sex marriages, against homosexuality for years and years and years. He's been a major supporter of this type of, not a supporter of that type of activity, but he's been a person that's been out working against homosexuality and same-sex marriages and stuff of that nature. So it would be seen quite odd if he was involved in homosexual activity himself. But then again, Jimmy Swaggart was in the media for years, and when I was growing up, I watched Jimmy Swaggart, because I think it was that thing where he cried every time he was doing his ministry on television. Jimmy Swaggart had a huge following. I think he was out of Louisiana area, but he was huge. He was nationwide, I think, at one time, and come to find out, after all that preaching that Jimmy Swaggart was doing, he was visiting prostitutes. So sometimes people that are doing the preaching against is the same people that are doing it themselves. I'm not saying Bishop Long did anything. I have no idea, but I do know this. If it is text messages out there like people are alleging, and I don't know, maybe there are text messages out there because the guy has to stay in communication with some of the young people. But the question is if there are text messages and what does those text messages say? Because it's not illegal to have a relationship with a 17 or 18-year-old male. But the problem is going to be if the bishop, being a man of God as he say he is, and the people that surround him believe it to be true, is having a sexual relationship with young males, that's a problem. And if he somehow was able to put them in a state of mind where they felt they couldn't say no, then maybe you have some criminal charges under those circumstances. But you don't have a statutory rape charge because they were above the age of 16. But I don't know yet. Like I said, the jury is out. There's a lot of information. A lot of things are being said. I know that the bishop was going to have a press conference. He was going to talk to Roland Martin on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. He was scheduled to do that until a third person has come out now. And now this person is making some similar allegations as well, which now has prompted the bishop's camp to cancel all press conferences right now. Because, you know, I know people probably thinking, if he didn't do it, why don't he just come out and say it? Da-da-dee-da-da-da. That sounds good, but those lawyers are telling these people just the opposite. Don't talk. Don't give any statements. Don't give any interviews. That's what the lawyer is telling them. I know the lawyer is telling that. The lawyer is telling everybody the same thing. So it makes you look bad in the eye of public opinion. But see, I'm thinking like this here. I'm not saying the bishop did anything wrong. I don't know. But I'm saying if I'm sitting there and somebody's ruining my reputation, even though a lot of detectives are not admissible in court, hook me up. Let's resolve it right now, right then, and get this out the way. Give me a lie detector test. I'm going in. Somebody might say, well, why does he got to do that? Why does he have to prove himself? And why does he have to do anything? And these people are just throwing allegations out there and it's not true. Maybe it's not true. I don't know if it's true or not. But reputations are not built overnight. It takes years and years and years and years to build a stellar reputation. And when someone starts to question that reputation, when someone starts to punch holes in your reputation, it's important for you to defend that reputation that you took years to build. And sometimes people feel like their reputation will stand on its own, that you can't crack that armor because that reputation is so strong and so big and everybody believes you. But big people have fallen down really fast as well when we find out that things are, I mean, locally we remember Reverend Lyons, even though I'm not trying to, make anybody mad. I know Reverend Lyons is preaching over at New Salem Missionary Baptist Church here in Tampa on Oregon Street. I'm not trying to say anything bad about him, but we do know what happened several years ago with Reverend Lyons. He was out there, doing his thing, preaching the word, and people was out following him, and the bottom fell out. I'm not going to repeat what happened because I think people that are familiar with Reverend Lyons know exactly what happened. This is not an attack on Reverend Lyons today, so I don't want nobody to say, why are you attacking Reverend Lyons? I'm not, because it's public record what happened to him. He wound up going to jail, doing all these things. Everybody that's familiar with the St. Pete area know what happened to Reverend Lyons. And all I'm saying is drawing a correlation between people with big reputations sometimes do think they don't have any business. Now, whether or not the bishop did something he don't have any business or not, the jury's still out. We won't know anything until some of this stuff, some of these records start being subpoenaed, some of these hotel stays, if people can really prove that, fancy cars was bought. I mean, I don't know taking somebody on trip proves anything, because if indeed he was out mentoring to young people, especially young males, and trying to get them on the track and trying to get them to do the manly thing and teach them how to be men, black men in this society, and if they did go on trips, not one-on-one trips, but if they went on trips where there were several people involved, and now people are claiming they shared the same hotel bed. I don't know. These are the allegations that are out there, and unfortunately in this society, allegations and things, perceptions are worse than reality, because if we perceive people to be lying or hiding something, we can ruin these people with all this front page news. I mean, I've seen it all over the internet, and it's running every half an hour and an hour. What if it's not true? How do you then fix that stuff? How do you go back and retrieve all that? You can't. The damage is done to a certain degree.